Hey guys, how you doing? Exterior lighting. Man, there's a lot of light bulbs out there. We got parking lights, we got turn signals, we got uh, uh, side marker lights, reverse lights. What else? What else we got? A lot of these things share light bulbs as well. You start looking at like brake lights. A lot of times, brake light and turn signals are the same filament, the same light bulb. You know what I mean? Uh, uh, we have side marker lights. Side marker lights and parking lights, are they the same thing? A lot of this stuff is mandate. Well, we'll talk in a second. All right, so we have bulbs. Now, a lot of manufacturers are going to LED bulbs at this point. Mercedes-Benz, you look at them, all of their bulbs are LED bulbs. Uh, but turn signals, we'll talk there. Turn signals, probably the most complicated circuit on a car, which is one of the reasons why I'm starting with it, because after we get done with this, everything else will seem easy comparatively. So I'm just going to throw you in at the deep end and, we'll work through it. Anyways, so turn signals and a lot of times hazards are connected together. A lot of times we have what's called a multifunction switch that handles, headlights and turn signals and parking lights and, high beams and all that stuff. It's on the stalk on the side. That's real common too. So a lot of times this is one combination switch that handles everything. They call it a multifunction switch in Ford land. Anyways, bulbs. You got to be really careful because there's a lot of bulbs out there that are very specific to the application. You have to get the right replacement bulb, or things could go awry. I'll pick on GM. GM, if it has the wrong size third brake light bulb, the center high mount stoplight when it's in the middle, if it has the wrong bulbs in there or different bulbs in there, sometimes there's four of them in there. If they're not the right bulbs, the cruise control doesn't work. Thank you, GM. But, if you put the wrong bulb in, I'm sure you guys have run into this where you put in LED bulbs and then they don't blink the same. Or they don't, you know what I mean? So we do have to be careful with this. Now, a lot of times there's, the bulbs are by number. We have numbers and letters attached to them. If we look at this one, an 1157, and then we have an 1157A and an 1157NA. Have you ever been behind somebody and their tail lights are different colors or something, or one's a little brighter, one's a little darker? Usually this is because of having the incorrect bulb. So you take something as simple as natural amber. It's just a different way the bulb is colored and the pigment on the bulb to make it yellow. We also have chrome bulbs. Ask me about those one day. I'll share them with you. It's just we need to be careful with this. Now, a lot of times we have what's called a dual filament bulb, which means it's basically two separate filaments that light up inside the same envelope. Okay? So a lot of times there's either 4 wires that go to it or there's 3 wires that go to it. And it's really common when we're talking like brake and turn signal bulbs, or brake and parking light bulbs. So we have one that's like a different wattage. One's brighter than the other. Anyways. Then we start looking at all these different sizes and different types, and then even sometimes the alignment pins are in different spots. It may have the same, wattage and may have the same amperage, but it may have different trade numbers. And then, we also have standard duty and heavy duty, and that gives them a different trade number as well. And then, some of these heavy duty, fleet duty, identify as, more severe service. They can get banged around a little more, like if it's in a heavy truck. Put a light duty bulb into a heavy truck, and you could be replacing that bulb quite often because the filament just can't handle it. Where you pay more, get a better bulb, like twice the price. Anyways. Flashers. What would make it flash? Well, it really it works on a heater. Inside, there's these contacts. Where is that? There it is. Well, there's these contacts that come together, and then there's a heating element on it. And then it's made out of bidirectional, or oh, what's the name of it? Bimetallic. There's the name. It's two pieces of metal that are fused together, and they have different expansion and contraction rates. So when it heats up, it pulls away and opens the circuit. It cools down, clicks, closes the circuit again. And it also gives us our audible click, which we need that. And it's supposed to make that audible click. And we'll talk about the audible click in a minute. So this, heating element is actually grounded to the light bulb. So if the light bulb is a different amperage, means it has a different resistance, means that heater is going to heat up and cool, or heat up at a different rate. So this is why sometimes you get like a fast blink. It's either due to having a bulb that's out, doesn't work, or the incorrect bulb, which, can throw you for a loop if you're not sure what you're doing. Okay. Now, this blink rate is actually standardized along with all kinds of other things. How fast it blinks is standardized in this country. It's usually like, I think it's 3/4 of a second on, 3/4 of a second off. Blink, 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 blink. You get behind some people and it's like, blink, 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 blink. Well, there's something wrong with that. As a matter of fact, it's supposed to do that to alert the driver that there's something wrong. So if you notice a weird blink rate on your turn signal, that's generally telling you you have a light bulb out. Okay. All right, so there's a whole thing, that happens when, the bulb burns out or it goes bad. It blinks at a different rate to help tell the driver that there's something wrong. Flasher size. Flashers come in different sizes. Now, if on old school, this is old school stuff. New school is computer driven. We'll talk about that later. But if you hook up a trailer, that's going to affect the blink rate as well, which means you have to get a specific heavy-duty flasher that will keep the blink rate right. And most of those times, what's changed in size is instead of becoming this bimetallic strip that opens and closes, it goes to a solid state piece with 555 timer or something. Multifunction switch. These things can get incredibly complicated. If you start looking at all the things that are included in this multifunction switch, wipers and turn signals and high beams and low beams and wipers. Did I say wipers? All of those different cruise control is on there. That's right. All of these different functions are on one switch. So you can imagine how complicated that switch would get. Some of these things are also extremely expensive. I mean, they're a couple $100 just for the switch. So if you're going to diagnose these circuits and you're going to pull the trigger and say that it's got a bad multifunction switch, you had better be right, or you're just spending money for no good reason. Which brings me to my point. Understanding how to troubleshoot one of these things is the key. All right. So some of these things are master switch alone. These are usually pretty simple. Usually it has a separate hazard button over on the dashboard or on the top of the column or something. That's how you tell if it's just a master switch alone. Turn signal is not shared with the brake light, so you walk up and back and you have a yellow turn signal and then you have a red brake light. Usually that tells you it's just the master switch. The brake lights don't even pass through one of these guys. So here's what one looks like. So down here, down here is my combination switch. All it is just a turn signal. So if we look at how it gets its power from, through my hazard switch, right? So that when the hazard switch is off, this line isn't getting any power. See it? But this line over here is. This is hot and run and start. So this is passing this ignition current through to my combination flasher module. Are we okay? Now, let's see, where'd it go? There it is. Here's my power out, and that goes to my combination switch. So instead of getting power from this line on this one, which goes elsewhere, it's getting power through here. Get it? Now, this is a gained hazard switch. See the line? See the dashed line? All right. That just means these three switches are all connected together mechanically, not electrically. Got it? All right. So in turn signal mode, right, it gets its power from this on and off with the key, which makes sense because the ignition switch goes on, or the turn signals go on and off with the key. So it feeds power from here to the combination switch. And if I were to switch it to left-hand turn, it powers out to here, this little splice, and it goes to my front turn signal left hand, and then it junctions out and it goes to the back of the car. That's the back of the car, it's ABC, it's the back of the car, the light bulb's in back. And it goes blink, blink, blink. This is the guy that when it sees this load, it turns on and off the power. Get it? And the same thing happens for the right hand. Well, what happens to hazard? Well, I switch to hazard. Remember this hazard switch? This hazard switch flips this guy, and instead of being on and off with the key, it goes to a straight battery hot to this guy. Get it? And as soon as it switches to a battery hot, these two guys switch over. Click, click as well. So instead of coming out here, going through this green light blue line and then dropping down to my combination switch, it actually heads back up this way, and it goes into these gray and green yellow and green blue lines, which attach into my rear lights again and my front lights. Get it? So that's how it works. It's really pretty simple. How would I troubleshoot this? Well, it's pretty easy. I mean, if I have turn signals that don't work, what am I going to check? Well, I'm going to check this combination switch right here, but probably first I'm going to check this guy right here. And probably the very first thing I'm going to check is I'm going to flip on the hazards and see if the hazards work. Because if the hazards work and the turn signals don't, well, what have I got to check? Well, I want to check and make sure that this switch is good. How do I check it? I got B plus here coming in, because in turn, this is powering everything up. B plus here, and I got B plus coming out here to my combination flasher. And then I flip the hazard button on, and I should have constant power coming off this fuse to this line. So in either position of the hazard switch, this guy shouldn't lose power. Get it? But turn signal, it'll go on and off with the key. Understand? And then I'm going to do the same thing with my combination switch. I think that's bad. What I'm going to do is I'm going to run a jumper across it. I'm going to turn on the key, and then I'm going to jump. See, come on. My light green blue to my green blue or my green yellow. I'm just going to unplug this guy and run a jumper across it. See if I can get the lights to blink. It's pretty simple. Got it?